We're always projecting all of these things on our deities, on our ideas. We do it not only with God, but we do it with simple things too. People do it with ayahuasca. People will project all types of feminine traits, and just she's going to punish you for this. And I was like, no, like that's not our consciousness.
No,
it's not. But we'll project that because that's our idea of you've been a bad boy, you get punished. The mom's getting the wooden spoon, and here it comes. And it's going to sting for a while, but she loves you. But you get the wooden spoon for a little while.
Yeah, and then you arrive to the ninth dimension, and you realize that there was no one there. It was only you all the time. Like, what? What should I do now?
Yeah.
We humans, we are 9 months inside of the womb of a mother. And when we get out, usually the father is expecting. And we see the light. So if you start to understand how biology works, you will see that you have been trapped inside a mother for 9 months, expecting to see the light of the father. The origin of the word mother is matrix. So when we say matrix is matrix, means is the veil that covers you. Okay, so that would be the matter. It's matrix. And then is atar, father, the father, who is the pater. Pater means the path, is the one that leads. So it's a line that leads you outside the mother. It's all vocabulary from a family. So that's why we call the Father God and Mother Earth, because we are mammals. But when you leave this planet, nobody understands what we are saying. So the concept of the interdimensional concept of there is a mother, there is a father, it doesn't exist. When you project the third dimension into the other dimensions, you are creating this idea of we are all trapped. And we have to go through a long process of trying to be free from something that is holding us. And once we are free from that, we will be received by the light of the Father. And then we will be free. But suddenly the Father says, there are rules. You have rules because this is a home and you have to take care of the home. And then you grow up and you acknowledge that the mother is just loving you. That's why it's trapping you in her love. And so you have some conflicts in psychology with that. and then you understand that, it's not that my mother was possessive, it was that trying to protect me from something from the outside. So I love my mother and I forgive my mother, forgive my father. And suddenly when I just start to hate my father too, because the rules of my father aren't allowing me to do my life, I decide to start my own path and stop believing in God and start to look within and look my own truth. And suddenly I became that. And I have my own kid. And I am mother or father and the own creator of my own reality with my own rules. And it repeats and again and again.
All right, so we're in the sixth dimension, the architects of reality, the archangels. When we talk about the archangels, we talk about Michael and Raphael. Are we close? Are we close to like identifying them? Are some of the things that are in our culture like kind of right?
Kind?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that we put a lot of Christianism. Archangel means the powerful messenger. That's what it means. So it's a message of power. That's archangel. What they are really are different attributes of God, of the unity. So you have, for example, the light of God. It's an attribute. You can say light of God. But in the ancient Hebrew, you would say Ur, light, El, of God.
Uriel.
Uriel, the protector of God, like the medicine of God, Rafa, El, are aspects. They are not people. They are not people with wings.
Right.
They are attributes or aspects that emerge from the unity. And so the medicine of God, the light of God, the power of God, the protector of God, and so on, are all these different concepts that show so many attributes of the unity. So these beings are actually creating with their power the frequencies, the messengers, the frequencies that creates everything. So their sound, their vibration are molding the entire creation. But it's not that there are people with wings that we call archangels. There are attributes of the Creator that you can activate within you. Like, I am the medicine, I am the protector, I am the light, I am the path, I am life, I am... Who said that?
Jesus.
Yes. He was trying to embody every one of the names of God. He was not saying that he was the only one. He was saying that that's the only way you can embody God.
Yeah.
When you realize, I am light, Uriel, I am the power, Gabriel, and so on. The archangels are not beings from outside. We are within them.
Could they be looked at as both, though? In a certain way, like they're within us, and also sometimes it feels like we can encounter them as separate. But
yeah,
is that,
of course.
But are they both? They're both within us and outside of us.
Fourth dimension.
Yeah, both
Yes.
at the same time. Yeah,
Exactly.
So all of this idea, and I think this is this constant question, like, are the beings that you see in ayahuasca, are they from you or are they from somewhere else? And like I've always said, yeah, both.
Both.
Like it doesn't like it's
There's no
it's the
this
wrong
or
question.
that. In the universe, it's difficult to say this or that.
Right.
In the universe, is both. But for me, right now, it's more this than that.
Yeah.
So that would be the answer, because it's impossible.
Yeah.
When you have the entire creation, you can see that there is no this or that, and you can see that the seventh dimension that we didn't mention is the enlightenment. But in the enlightenment, there are beings of darkness too. Samael, for example. Samael is one of the attributes of God that from the seventh dimension loaded and loaded all the information of enlightenment to the sixth dimension, and was the first attribute of the universe creating by itself in a separate way. That's what we call Satan. It was Samael. And this being was one of the attributes of the divine that was called the most beautiful light, or the one that carries the light with him.
Lucifer.
Lucus Ferus, who takes the light. What happened? That this being was the first architect, the first one that said, I can design something different from what we have done till now. And he created the sixth dimension that projected in the third dimension. So was the one that enables the life, basically. So what happened? Every being from the seventh dimension that said we have to create followed the path of darkness to create. But those who arrived to the creation and said, oh, but we were the creators, follow the path of enlightenment to the seventh dimension again. And that idea is like a torus. It's the shape of a torus. But that idea creates the concept that both paths were against each other. and actually one was opening the path for the others. And for the others not to get lost, they create the path again, going back to the center. So for the talking about dimensions, even these beings that in religion they were the bad ones, it's just one side of the story.
So explain the role of the beings of the seventh dimension, and then the roles particularly of the being that's called Satan. I don't think I fully understand it. Because he said basically, and we say he, but it's obviously not a person.
It's it.
Yeah. It says basically, I know that I can create something, but I need to use the darkness to do it, and I need to somehow separate myself from the everything in order to do this. What was going on?
How the solar system was created. It was not because a fairy came and they like this with magic. It was a big explosion. The sun exploded, divided itself, and created chaos, destruction all around, and all the rocks, the parts that remain without light, became planets. So they cannot shine anymore. They are not light, but they were part of the light. Earth was part of the sun.
Yeah, they were energy that turned into matter.
Yeah,
waves that turned into particles.
And so much energy in the sun shining so much created an explosion that allowed the planets to exist. So it is because of that destruction and division that life on Earth exists. But not only because the sun and its explosion, also because of the gravity of Jupiter. Without Jupiter, life wouldn't be possible here because we would have been consumed by asteroids.
Right.
So it's because of Jupiter that we survive. And all that system is the one that was created by the darkness, because it was destruction, division, and turning matter that was shining into rocks that doesn't shine.
Right. And you're just using our galaxy as an example of the whole universe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So all these horrible things, like the Second World War, everyone is, it was terrible. But that allowed the European Union. Israel wouldn't exist because of that.
Yeah, but it all makes sense, because you can look at the dark side of it and say, yeah, fucking Satan's work, and certainly you could look at World War II and be like, yeah, there's the devil in that work, and you can feel the evil of that. But then you can also see then there's the result of the creation that's happened and in these other things. It's all entangled, and we can look at it from one side or the other. We can look at it through polarity lens, or we can look at it through like a higher purview, a divine perspective, still recognizing that certain things are horrible in that present moment and certain things are not horrible. But
in Mesopotamia, Egypt, Africa in general, in Asia with the dragons, never in history the cultures really took the bad side or the dark side as against. They know that day and night, they are good for the universe, and that each one of them have good things to do. For example, when you go to Egypt, there's snakes everywhere, cobras, like the snake. And you say, if they are bad for people, so why they take it as so sacred? Well, they took the bad things and made it into good things. For example, the cobra, the goddess of cobra, is the protector of the fields. It's not the one that can kill the farmer. It's the one that protects the fields.
Yeah, it's just a different perspective. It's understanding the necessity of chaos and order.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're on a ship, chaos of the storm is a bad thing because you don't want to drown in your perspective.
Exactly.
But storms are important. They move the tides.
Weather.
They move so
exactly.
It's just like, can you get past your own perspective?
And the thing that had these cultures was that whenever someone sees a good thing into something that is wrong, has the opportunity to solve a problem. because when you have a problem and you have many minds in the table trying to solve a problem, the different points of view are the ones that makes better the solution. But what happened? In Christianity, they followed only one God, and only one God has the answer. There is no other answer possible for any problem. The only answer is Jesus. So when you have that the only answer is someone that lived 2,000 years ago and is not related to today, what happened is that every answer possible will be like 2,000 years ago.
Well, and it was also highly manipulated through all of those years for different purposes.
Yes. So that's why in that answer, they needed that change and other options to be called evil. Because if someone said there is another option, that would be bad for the religion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they needed to take all the other options as something bad. And they created the image of the devil. And that was, for me, was awesome when I knew this, that the devil wasn't created until the Middle Ages. Did you know?
The image of it? The one
the
with
image
the
with the horns?
Yeah.
Yes. Because in Europe, the tradition was fertilization for the women. The women were the powerful. It was a matriarchal society.
Mm-hmm.
And the feminine were ruling everything. So the women used to do something that in Spain they call aquelarre. Is like it was a circle of healing of women that they gathered to make the womb fertile, to make services to men, to like this. So they would reunite in the stone circles and so on. And the image of that was the goat. Why? Because the goat gives the milk, gives the wool, the everything for life, the horn to call the people. So it was a symbol of fertility. So they used to honor the goat in those circles. And in Greece and in Middle East, they call the god of fertility Baphomet. Baphomet is the god of wisdom and fertility. He's the one that gives the possibility of creation and to question the reality so you can create new things. And that's the symbol of what we now call the demon, the devil. And it's incredible how Christianity in Europe start to call that the devil, so people would go away from that tradition in Europe and follow the church.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we believe that the demon has horns. but it's not related with the hell, basically. If you go to hell, it's very similar to here.
Yeah, it feels like this is our opportunity for both heaven and hell, depending on our perspective, right? Like,
yeah. So going through all the possibilities and the realities, we usually get stuck in what we have been told as a family in religion, and we project that into the entire universe. But actually, when you look down into what holds the universe, it's just vibration in between particles that decided to behave as particles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing.
So we have this story that Lucifer, the fallen angel, is all things that are evil,
Mm-hmm.
and is the one to be resisted and is only evil. But you started telling a story that no, this is a seraphim from the seventh dimension that actually enabled creation.
Yeah.
So it's a very it's a
thing.
flip. So, but I just want to go through that one more time.
Yeah,
Maybe
sure.
it's because my mind is so conditioned by the world that we live in.
It happened, yeah.
That like it was like, whoa, I didn't. So explain that again. What happened in the seventh dimension and what this being, that they call Satan or Lucifer, what that being actually did, and then why was it that the stories of the Christians made that thing evil?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like in the eighth dimension or eighth dimension, there is God, this Lord of a house that has many kids living in the same house, and they are running out of room, and they are all so powerful that they are all occupying a very important spot in the house. But there are kids born in every time because the mother matrix, it's very fertile. So there are many kids, but the house is always the same. There were 7 rooms, but now there are like 12 kids, and they are all sharing beds and chaotic. So there was one of them, Samael, that said, what if we make the house bigger? What if we create something different so we could all live in a different way? So in the 7th dimension, they are the happy family where they all sit around the table and they said, we love so much to each other that we doesn't care about the space we have.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was one in the table that said, I care. I care about because I need my space. I have too much power inside and I'm sharing this space with people that is not allowing me to grow. So God said, okay, what would you do? And he said, well, I would get rid of that wall. I would throw that away. If you give me a hammer, I will destroy it. I don't care. And I will create another room. So he created another room. But the other says, I want another one. I want my own room. So he started to break all the walls to make the house bigger. And then they had kids and family. So they had to do the same thing, breaking the walls, creating more, blah, blah, blah. So the family grew and the universe grew, of course, into fractal, tiny fractal.
So in a way, that being that was the one who ultimately led to polarity, right? Because polarity was necessary to create it took the unity of the happy family and brought it all the way into the fractal, perspectives that we see now and all of the world that we have now, but it created polarity. And so maybe is that why it was attributed with evil? Because it took the one unified family of the divine and broke it into and divided the family. And now there's the possibility of evil because of the possibility
of dividing more families.
But what
people doesn't realize is that there are more families because of that.